Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about compound nouns. In particular, this lesson is about open compound nouns. Compound nouns are nouns that are formed with two words together, and the ones we'll look at today have a space between the two words. So if you just need a quick example, juice box is one. Guest room is one as well. These are the types of nouns where they have two words and together it means something different than just the one word. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about compound nouns. Some of these might be new for you, some you might be familiar with, but I think it will be a good lesson either way. So welcome. Juice box. So my kids drank a lot of juice boxes when they were kids. We usually tried to make them drink water and milk, but sometimes they would want a juice box. A juice box is an actual box, like it's square, it's not round or anything, and it has juice in it. And you buy them from the grocery store. They come with a little straw, and then it's actually kind of annoying because the straw has a bit of plastic around it, and I actually find it kind of hard to get the plastic off the straw. And then you poke the straw. One end of the straw is cut so it has a point, and you poke it into the juice box, and then you can drink your juice. Here's what I don't like about juice boxes. After a child puts the straw in, if they squeeze the juice box, juice shoots out of the straw. And I saw that happen a lot of times when my kids were little. But a juice box is a small box filled with juice that usually you give to kids. Many kids will take a juice box in their lunch. So when they eat their lunch, they have something to drink as well. A guest room, a room in a house for visitors to sleep in. Now, you might think you have to be rich to have a guest room, but I don't think that's true. When Jen and I first moved here, we didn't have any children, and so we had a guest room. We had a room where if Jen's sister and brother-in-law visited, they could sleep in that room and stay over for the night. So a guest room is simply an extra room. As we had children, eventually all of the rooms in our house were full and we didn't have a guest room. But I can actually see a day in the future, in a couple of years, where we will probably turn one of the kids' rooms back into a guest room. So if Jen's parents came to visit, or if someone from far away came to visit, they could sleep in that room. Basically, it's just a bedroom and no one uses it until you have a guest. So a guest room, a room in a house for visitors to sleep in. A water bottle. If you're wondering where the idea for this lesson came from, it's because school started and everyone has an Awala water bottle. A bottle used for holding water. So I think this is both a good thing and a bad thing. I'll explain why. I think it's good that people are drinking more water. I actually don't think it's good to drink coffee all day. I think coffee is great, but if you have 10 cups a day, that's probably too many. I don't think it's good to drink pop or soda all day. I think water, milk, tea, those are all good things to drink. So I do think the fact that people are drinking more water is good. What I'm not sure about is sometimes people buy a water bottle and then a year later they buy a different one because it's the new cool one. And then a year later they buy another one because it's now the new cool one. Do I sound like an old grouchy person? So I think it's good in the sense that people are drinking more. People are using less plastic bottles, but some people do tend to buy new water bottles quite often. So hopefully it's still good for the environment. But a water bottle, a bottle used for holding water, obviously so you can drink it. Hotel room. So when you stay in a hotel, you stay in a hotel room. You rent a hotel room. We sometimes just shorten this to say room. Did you get a room at a hotel? Yes, I got a room at a hotel. You could also respond and say, no, I actually got an Airbnb. An Airbnb is when you pay to stay in someone's house. Usually they aren't there when you stay there, but sometimes that can be the case. Some people actually rent out their guest room on Airbnb, although I would find that a little awkward. When I've stayed at an Airbnb, we've always had the place to ourselves. That means no one else was there. But when you go on a trip, you need to book a hotel room. When you get to the hotel, you need to check in, and then you bring your things up to the hotel room and you unpack, and then maybe you go and explore the city that you are in. A hotel room, a room you rent in a hotel. And by the way, to rent means you pay money to use it. Window frame. So in the middle, there's another compound noun. The middle, the glass part is called the window pane, but the wooden part on the outside is called the window frame. Now, my windows don't have wooden frames. Well, they might, but I think they're vinyl on the outside. But the window frame is the border around a window. So inside you have a piece of glass called the window pane, and around it you have the window frame that holds that glass in place. So window frame, the border around a window. An award ceremony, a special event where people get awards or prizes or whatever happens to be the reason for the award ceremony. If you're familiar with the Oscars, if you're familiar with the Emmys, these are American award ceremonies where actors and actresses get awards for movies and TV shows. But yes, an award ceremony, a special event where people get awards. And these don't have to be really, really big. Our local Chamber of Commerce, which is a group of business people, every year they have an award ceremony where they give out awards for best new business in the area, or they give an award for most charitable business, like a business that gave lots of money and time to support a good cause. So an award ceremony, a special event where people get awards. A travel agent. If you want to book a hotel room, a travel agent is a good place to start. A travel agent is a person who helps you plan and book trips, flights, and hotels. If I wanted to visit France, I could go online and I could book a trip myself. But it might be a better idea, because that's a pretty big trip. It might be a good idea to go to a travel agent. A travel agent, again, is a person who might know the best places to stay in Paris. They might know of the best way to get there and what airline to use. So a travel agent, again, a person who helps you not just book the trip, but also plan your trip. They might say, oh, if you go to France, I highly recommend you go to this part of France and then at the end visit Paris. So travel agent, a person who helps you plan and book trips, flights, and hotels. And then if you do go on a trip, you might go on a plane and there might be a flight attendant. A flight attendant is a person who works on an airplane helping passengers. When you get on a plane, they might help you find your seat. You might say, where am I? And they might say, oh, you're row 37, seat A. They might help you find a spot for your overhead, for your carry-on, because sometimes the overhead compartment on an airplane can be quite full and you're not sure if there's a spot for your bag, for your carry-on bag. So the flight attendant might come over and say, oh, let me help you, and then rearrange the bags. The flight attendant will also give a little talk before the plane takes off, telling you how to fasten and unbuckle your seatbelt, or to buckle and unbuckle. They'll tell you that underneath your seat is a flotation device, or your seat is a flotation device. They'll tell you that something will fall out of the ceiling if you need oxygen, if the plane is having difficulty flying. So, flight attendant, a person who works on an airplane helping passengers. Bowling alley, a place to go bowling. So this is the second reason why I came up with this lesson. The first was I saw a lot of water bottles. The second thing was my colleagues were talking about how we should all go bowling at some point in the future. Bowling is a game where you roll a really heavy ball and it goes down the bowling alley and it hits the pins at the end. And then you try to knock down the bowling pins. So bowling ball, bowling pin, bowling alley, these are all compound nouns. for the game of bowling. Now, this is called 10-pin bowling. In Canada, we also have 5-pin bowling, where there's only 5 pins and the ball is a little bit smaller. So a bowling alley, a place to go bowling. Birthday cake, a special cake for someone's birthday. Now, I don't know if this is a custom around the world, but certainly in North America, in Canada, and in the United States, if it is your birthday, someone hopefully will make you a birthday cake. This is usually a cake made with flour and eggs and sugar and other stuff. And it usually has icing on it as well. This cake has white icing. And then usually they will put in candles. If it's for a child, they will put in the same number of candles as the age of the child. So if it's your 9th birthday, your parents or whoever will put 9 candles in the cake. They'll light the candles. You make a wish, and then you blow out the candles. And I think if you blow out all the candles with one breath, your wish comes true. Did you understand that? Like you wish for, oh, if I was 16 and I had a birthday cake, I would wish for a new car, and then I would blow out the candles and hopefully get a new car. So birthday cake, a special cake for someone's birthday. I eat smaller and smaller pieces of birthday cake. When I was younger, I would eat as big a piece as possible, but lately I usually request something smaller. There's a lot of sugar and oil and calories in birthday cake. Wedding reception, a party after a wedding. So traditionally, there are 2 parts to a wedding. It does depend on whether it's a religious ceremony or not. But most weddings that I've been to, there is a service. You go to the wedding ceremony, and it's usually, maybe there's a pastor. It might be in a church. It might be at the town hall. But the 2 people will say their vows. They will promise to be husband and wife. They'll promise to be partners for life. And then after the official part, the legal part of the wedding or the religious part of the wedding, there's usually a wedding reception. This is usually in a different location, and it's really just a party after a wedding. So it's a place where you go and you talk to all your relatives, because usually when you're at a wedding, all your relatives are there. You sit and have a meal together. And then after the meal, there might be a slideshow about the new couple. There might be a dance. There might be special presentations by members of the family. So a wedding reception is a party after a wedding, and they're usually quite fun. Jen and I, though, we're in an era where we haven't been to a lot of weddings lately. As you go through life, there's a time when all your friends might be getting married, so you go to a lot of weddings. And then there's a time, I guess the next would be when your children, well, nieces and nephews getting married might be the next time. But then eventually, when you're my age, in your early 50s, I guess we're waiting for kids to get married. That might be next. Anyways, wedding reception, a party after a wedding. Science lab. So normally these are found in schools. So a room with special equipment for experiments. So if you remember your school days, maybe some of you still are in school, there is a classroom that has beakers and Bunsen burners that have a little flame and test tubes and microscopes. And it's a place where you can learn about science, and you can learn about science by doing experiments. So science lab, a room with special equipment for experiments. You might have this at work. Maybe you work in a place where you do have a lab. You might not call it a science lab. You might have a lab where you test food products, or you test, maybe your place of work makes something and you have a science lab to test to make sure it was made properly. Movie theater, a place to watch films on a big screen. We do use the word film and movie interchangeably. Do you want to go see a film this weekend? Do you want to go see a movie this weekend? If you go to see a movie, you will go see it in a movie theater. We sometimes also call it a cinema, but it's probably more common in my area to say movie theater. What movie theater do you want to go to tonight? Do you want to go to the one in Toronto, or do you want to go to the one in Hamilton? I probably wouldn't say what cinema do you want to go to? Although I have heard people say, oh, we went to the cinema last night and saw a movie. But in my part of the world, I think movie theater, a place to watch films on a big screen, is probably the most common. Coffee shop. This one I'm sure you all know. A coffee shop is a place where you can buy coffee. So it's a small restaurant that sells coffee and snacks. But don't worry, if you like tea, you can get tea at a coffee shop. I am not aware of a coffee shop that doesn't also sell tea and other things to drink. They might even sell juice boxes for kids. But coffee shop, a small restaurant that sells coffee and snacks. I also have never been to a coffee shop that only sold coffee and didn't have cookies and muffins and brownies and other common snacks in this part of the world. So, coffee shop, a small restaurant that sells coffee and snacks. Hospital bed. I'm somewhat familiar with these. A special bed used in hospitals. What makes a hospital bed different from a normal bed is that it goes up and down. It tilts. It has wheels on the bottom so they can wheel you around the hospital. It might even have, like at the back, there's a special pole so they can hang the IV on that pole. So if you have a needle in your arm with a tube going up to some fluid in a bag, the hospital bed might have that attached to it. So hospital bed, a special bed used in hospitals. I was in one in May after I broke my collarbone. I sat in one for about 6 hours. And they did wheel me down to the x-ray room, and they wheeled me back up because the bed had wheels. Shopping cart. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. A small cart you push in a store to carry things you want to buy. We also in Canada might call this a grocery cart if you're at the grocery store. I think in the UK they call it a trolley. Do I have that right? Maybe someone can let me know. But shopping cart, a small cart you push in a store to carry things you want to buy. Bus stop, a place where you wait for the bus or get off the bus. So this is usually a little sheltered area. Sometimes there's a bench inside. It's a place where you can get out of the wind. It's a place where you can get out of the sun, where you can get out of the rain. That's how we describe being sheltered from weather. With a bus stop, if it's windy, you can go inside to get out of the wind. If it's raining, you can go inside to get out of the rain. And if it's sunny, you can go inside to get out of the sun. And then you can wait for the bus. It's also the place where you get off the bus. The bus will stop and you can get off the bus stop. Traffic jam, a line of cars stuck and not moving because the road is too crowded. I do not like traffic jams. I was in a traffic jam last week, Saturday. After my live stream last week, Saturday, I had to go to a town called Burlington to pick up a birthday gift for someone. And it took me 35 minutes, 40 minutes to get there. And it took me 2 hours to get home because I had to go across a bridge. And then after I went across the bridge, there was an accident. So I couldn't come back across the bridge. So there was a traffic jam going towards the bridge. And eventually I found my way and I went the long way around. So traffic jam, a line of cars stuck and not moving because the road is too crowded. Police station, a building where police officers work and help people. So in your town, there's probably a building. It probably says police on the front or whatever police is in your language. And inside, there will be a lot of police officers, another compound noun. And there will be a lot of police cars, another compound noun out front. So a police station, a building where police officers work and help people. And then, of course, post office, a place where you send and receive mail. I only go to the post office every 2 or 3 weeks now. I have a post office box and people send me postcards. I really appreciate that. It's fun to see pictures of your countries. My address is in the description below, by the way. But a post office is a place where you go if you want to pick up your mail or if you want to send a letter. Most people, though, have a post office box in their subdivision or in their neighborhood. That's more common in Canada. I'll show one in a video someday. I think it'd be curious to know how mail is done around the world. Here, my mail comes right to a mailbox at the end of my driveway out in the country. I really appreciate that. Birthday party. I should have put this slide by birthday cake. A birthday party is a party to celebrate someone's birthday. I apologize that my lessons are sometimes kind of random, especially when I throw them together late at night on a Thursday. A birthday party, a party to celebrate your birthday. I had my birthday party in July, during the month of July. It's a fun time. At my age, sometimes you have a birthday cake, sometimes not. At my age, sometimes people give you gifts, but more than likely they'll give you a card, and it might have a gift card in it. That is probably the most common gift for someone in their early 50s, okay? So it's a party to celebrate someone's birthday. These people went all out. When you go all out, it means you do more than the minimum. They have little fun party hats, and it looks like they got green straws to match the drink that they're having. And they brought gifts. They went all out. That looks like a fun party. Fish pond. So a small pond with fish in it. And generally a fish pond is it's decorative. It doesn't serve any other function other than you can hear the water bubbling and you can watch the fish and you can feed the fish. And it's meant to be a peaceful part of a garden. So a fish pond is usually a small pond. Sometimes it's this fancy, sometimes it's a little simpler, and usually it will have goldfish in it. That is probably the most common kind of fish that people will put in their fish pond. And in Canada, the pond has to be deep enough so that when it freezes in the winter, it's still water at the very bottom. So the fish have a place to live through the winter. So fish pond, a small pond with fish in it. I do not have a fish pond. I don't know. They are peaceful. It is nice to sit and read a book beside a fish pond. Maybe I'll build one someday, but probably not. Flower garden. We do have these. A garden with flowers as opposed to vegetables. In English, when you use the phrase as opposed to, it means like the opposite of or different than. So a flower garden then would not have beans or corn or spinach in it. A flower garden would have different varieties of flowers. In this case, I think these are zinnias. I think in the front here, the orange ones are probably marigolds. And then there's a nice little path. So flower garden, a garden with flowers. Video game, an electronic game played on a computer or console. I only play video games on my computer. I will play on the Nintendo Switch with my kids sometimes, but I prefer to play games on my computer. In the winter, usually in January and February when it's really cold outside, I will usually find a game and play it. Last winter, I was playing Against the Storm, and I was playing a game called Planetfall, I think it was called. They were both pretty good. They were a lot of fun. So video game, an electronic game played on a computer or a console. Credit card, a dangerous card that lets you spend money that you don't have. Sorry, that's not the definition. Credit card, a plastic card used to pay for things instead of cash. So when you go to buy something, you can give the person money. You can pay with what I call a bank card or debit card, where the money comes from your bank account and goes to the business. Or you can use a credit card, which means you are buying something with money that you are instantly borrowing from the credit card company. There's a couple things that are important with credit cards. Always pay them off every month and don't use them very often. Those are my two recommendations. A plastic card used to pay for things instead of cash. Apartment building, a tall building with many apartments inside. How do you know this is an apartment building, you might wonder, instead of an office building, which is another compound noun? You can tell this is an apartment building because it has balconies. There is a place on every floor with every apartment where you can go outside on your little balcony. There's a railing so that it's safe, and then you can enjoy a bit of the outdoors. Although, depending on how high up you are, I'm afraid of heights, so I don't know how much I would enjoy going on the balcony on the 30th floor of an apartment building. But an apartment building, a tall building with many apartments inside. A beach towel, a large towel you use at the beach. Now, You might take the same towel to the beach that you use after you take a bath or shower, but it might be nicer to have a beach towel. A beach towel is usually very large. It's usually larger than the towel you would use to dry yourself off after a shower or bath, and it's usually quite colorful. I have a beach towel, and we use it when we go to, there's a large pool at a park near us, so I will bring my beach towel. The other reason it's nice to have a beach towel is it's large enough that you can lay on it. You can put the beach towel out on the sand, and you can lie down on the beach towel. Key fob or car key or fob, a key used for a car. I don't have mine on my desk right here. My one car has a key, a car key. My other car has a fob. We just usually call them all keys though. So a common question in our house is, have you seen the red van keys? Have you seen the car keys? And then usually someone will find them. I have my own set for all the vehicles and I keep them in a certain spot, but it's the second set that sometimes gets lost, the ones that my driving age kids use. A house key then is a key used to lock or unlock a house. Pretty straightforward. Car key used for a car, house key used for a house. And then a grandfather clock. This might be a very unique one. I haven't actually seen a grandfather clock in a long time. My grandfather on my dad's side actually had a grandfather clock. A grandfather clock isn't called a grandfather clock because the person who owns it is a grandfather. It's called a grandfather clock because that's the style of clock. It's a large standing clock. It usually has weights on the inside on chains, and you have to pull the weights up every 24 hours or every few days, and then the weights slowly go down, and that's what makes the clock go. So grandfather clock, a large standing clock. This guy kind of looks like me a little bit. That's not me. But maybe someday I'll go to the grandfather clock store. By the way, these are pretty rare now. Not a lot of people have grandfather clocks. I think they were very popular 30 or 40 years ago. But nowadays, I think people just like things simpler. Like this is a pretty big thing to have in your house. Bed sheet, a very thin blanket on a bed. So just so you know the difference, when you have a mattress, you put a fitted sheet over the mattress. A fitted sheet has elastic in the corner, and the fitted sheet is the first thing I would put on a bed. Then you will put the pillowcases on the pillows, and then there's usually another thin blanket, which we call a bed sheet, that goes on top of the fitted sheet. In the winter, then you would add more and more blankets on top of the sheets so you can stay warm. But bed sheet, a very thin blanket on a bed.